to study university in Sweden in general, there are some requirements, some more general basic requirements and more specific requirements. The more general basic requirements are upper secondary certificate, which you get from your home country schools or from Sweden schools, the normal schools, or you get it from adults schools, which is called in komvux in Sweden. Because if you wanted to study the bachelor in Sweden, then almost all the programs have Swedish as the main language for the bachelor programs. I mean, if you come to the practice, you have it actually as 50-50, 50 Swedish, 50 English. The main language for the bachelor programs, almost all of them in Sweden, are given in Swedish. So that's why you are required to have some specific level of Swedish. At the highest level in Sweden is actually Swedish 3, and that is almost required for all the programs. But there are some requirements that requires just Swedish 2, and also you have to have knowledge in English, and that is the highest level. I guess it's English 7, and what is required is actually to have English 6 or 5, depends on the program and so on, but almost all of the programs requires English 6. I don't think that there are programs that require English 7. And then the more specific requirements, actually there are those requirements that depends on the education and the university by itself. So for example, if you want to study computer science at KTH, then they're required to have a mathematics 4, physics 2, chemistry 1, and maybe you already have them in your upper secondary certificate, or maybe you don't have them. You have to take a look at them and see. If we think about the cost perspective, then you don't have to be a Swedish citizen to study in Sweden. But to avoid the tuition fees and the admission fees and all of that stuff, you have to be either an Europe citizen, or an EEA citizen, or Switzerland citizen, or you have a permanent resident in Sweden, or temporary resident in Sweden, but that temporary resident shouldn't be due to the studies. So for my specific case, I came from Syria, and I had already my upper secondary school certificates, and I had to study Swedish, and I had also to study English. And by the way, the English, I think it's also for Swedish. If you think that you have good knowledge in Swedish, or you have studied in your country Swedish, then you could come here and do some tests to skip studying all the courses. So you could skip some courses if you have a good knowledge, and it's the same thing for English. If you a native speaker, or if you think that you're good at English or you have some specific level, and then you just can do the exam, and then you get one of the levels. Either they think that you have a level 4, 5, 6, and so on, and then you maybe will skip all the levels actually. But I choose to actually start from the beginning, so I didn't actually did any exams. I started, I guess, from English 2, I guess, or 3, which is basically just some basic stuff. But anyway, that was my path. And as I mentioned before, you studied at adult schools, and then for the specific requirements. For my case, it was computer science, and they required me to have a math 4, physics 2, chemistry 1, and on my certificate, upper secondary certificate, I had already math 4 and chemistry 1. I had just studied the physics 2. So for my case, I studied the Swedish levels until level 3, which is, I guess, it's the highest level that you could study in Sweden. And then English, I studied English 6, and then I studied also physics 2. I will show you an example of KTH. KTH is the university that I have studied at, and I will show you the page for the computer science program that I have studied. You could Google and search for other programs and other universities in Sweden. Here, for example, is the computer science program, which is 300 credits, and you can see that it has it's written that it's master, but it's not just a master. For example, there you can see the degree that you will get, which is a Master of Science in Engineering and the Bachelor. So it's a 5 years program, as you can see here, combining both the Bachelor and the Master. So when you apply for it, you will get accepted into both the Bachelor and the Master. So you don't need to apply again and get involved into a selection process again when you want to study the Master. And here you can see some important dates for when the application opens and when it's closed, and when you get the results, and if you will get accepted or not, and all of that information. And here down you could see an overview of the education, where you see in mathematics is 20%, and then you have programming as 9%, and then 34 about the computer science, and so on. And then there is actually a lot of information here, and then if you click on those links, you will get a description about all the courses that are given in the first 3 years, and then the second the last 2 years. And then here we could see how the program is related to the sustainability goals, and that's something unique in Sweden, where you could see actually relations and connections all the time to the sustainable goals. And there you could see it's connected to the goal number 8, 9 and 11. Yeah, and so you can find actually a lot of information on the web page, and if you wanted to get some more specific information, you may contact KTH here by clicking the link. I will show you now the web page that you have to take a look at for applying for universities in Sweden in general, and I think it's actually the only way to apply for universities in Sweden, and that's via antagning.se. And here you could write when you're planning to start your studies, and then which programs you wanted to study, just some keywords, and then click by apply, and so on. That's and then yeah, you will get like computer science 100 credits, and then you have the computer science master programs also, but as you can see, that's at Linköping and that's at Gothenburg and so on. And then here you have some filter, so if you wanted to decide the university, you could decide it here from and then yeah, and the level of the education, and at which period it starts, and the education time, and so on.